Today on Across the Fence, think locally, act globally, and live sustainably. We spotlight how the University of Vermont is doing its part to raise awareness about clean energy, decrease human impact on the environment, and retire bottled water forever. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Keith Silva, in for Judy Simpson. For more than 2 decades, the University of Vermont has been working towards a greener, more sustainable campus. This is more than about recycling and making sure the lights are turned off when somebody leaves a room. This is a mindset, a philosophy. And UVMers aren't the only ones who are going green. Anyone who visits campus is expected to do their part too. Joining me are Joya Thompson, Director of the University of Vermont's Office of Sustainability, and Mieko Ozaki, Sustainability Projects Coordinator. Welcome to you both. Very nice for you to be here.
Thank you.
Joya, before the program we were talking about, it used to be called environmental responsibility, now it's called sustainability. You've been involved the whole time along. Could you give us a little perspective on your office?
Well, I've been working for the University of Vermont on these issues since 1996, when we started the Environmental Council, and then it was really about environmental responsibility, how we could get the institution's way of doing business to be more environmentally responsible and to connect with the academic mission. Then, in 2007, our president at the time, President Fogel, signed the President's Climate Commitment. And this was a time when climate change was becoming part of the awareness of the larger culture. And this meant that we needed to, if we were going to really make a commitment to something called climate neutrality, we needed to add staff and really take it up a level. So that's when we hired, it went from being just me to 2 full-time staff. Now we have 5 half-time graduate fellows working on academics, culture, operations, and policy. A lot of different programs, and we're going to talk today about one of those, the Clean Energy Fund.
Right. UVM is a research institution. How does the research mission fit in with the Office of Sustainability?
So the institution as a whole has the mission of teaching, research, and outreach. And our job is to bridge academics and operations. So we're trying to help support the research into how we can live more sustainably, both in the formal setting, such as those engineers who are working on solar, part of a Clean Energy Fund, supporting that, but also very informally down to our eco reps doing taste tests, finding out can people tell a difference between tap water and bottled water, a whole continuum there that we try to support.
Mieko, Joya mentioned students. You're involved in on-campus sustainability projects. You work closely with these students. What do they tell you? What do they say? Why are they doing this?
They're really interested into the kind of having a real-world application, and in particular, I think that the college is an atmosphere where they can safely try and learn, take the application of what they're learning in class to basically putting a real-world application, kind of doing it through service learning projects and everything else. So trying to apply those ideas and get outside of the books.
A lot of times, no matter what you do, there's a recycling bin. You have stuff in the food service where students are sort of part of sustainability. What about the other side of the coin? Do you still have students who walk up and say, hey, what's going on? What's an eco rep?
Yeah, we have it all the time. I think for the most part, you have a kind of a continuum of different students who are coming in. So you have those who are fully knowledgeable, that know the issues that are going on in the environment, and so they're fully aware. And then you have a lot of students who are they're there to be exposed to new concepts and ideas. And so you get a really different range of enthusiasm, and it's great. It's refreshing.
What is the UVM Clean Energy Fund, and what is it used for?
So the University of Vermont's Clean Energy Fund is a student fee. It's a $10 per student per semester fee, and that generates about $225,000 of annually, and that money is applied towards a whole range of projects. So basically, that are in regards to renewable energy.
Do the students know? Do most of the students know they're getting charged $20 a year, $10 a semester?
I think because it's so small of an amount, a lot of them don't notice it. But I think because of our outreach efforts, they do know about the program. But I think also because we have a process of generating ideas, they get involved and they kind of realize that there are these projects around on campus.
Speaking of projects, what are some of the projects that have been financed with the Clean Energy Fund?
So we have a range of projects, and that can range from everything from courses and lecture series to internships and installations. And so a few of the projects we have are some installation of solar trackers, as well as installation of solar panels at our equine center. And we also have some really innovative, nifty projects. We have a electric vehicle, racing vehicle that's being developed, as well as a virtualized desktop lab.
Wow, very, very cool. We'll talk about another project in a minute. In January of 2013, UVM became the first academic institution to ban the selling of bottled water. Any reaction to this? Did it make the news or anything?
It made the news. We had a lot more reaction than we expected, and this was as a result of more than 4 years of student activism trying to get the university to make a change. But once the change came, everyone was kind of used to it and already gotten used to filling their water bottles, and the big reaction was from outside campus, national media, regional media, and lots of calls from other institutions saying, how can we do this too?
If I had been more in my game, I would have said make a splash. This picture that we've been looking at here is an arch that went to the State House of plastic water bottles. Is this something that the state of Vermont has been, the legislature has been big on? Have you had an impact there as well?
Well, we went to the State House with that with this piece of art that
right.
It's really quite something of bottled water arch. We were invited to go there with this arch to highlight concerns about, in this case, about waste and how we're dealing with how we eat food and drink water and drink other things. How much waste is really necessary in this process? So they were looking at how sustainable is our lifestyle, and this is the symbol of an unsustainable lifestyle in the eyes of many people who have been thinking about this. That bottled water is seen as something that we really ought to be thinking about.
Did you get a sense from people that said, why bottled water? Why not soda, or why not, something else? Why water?
We had lots of head scratching on this. And why bottled water but not bottled everything else? And the answer was, it was really about water itself as necessary for life, something that is a public resource. The students were saying that they did not want the university to be in participating in extracting water from another community, adding a lot of unnecessary resource use, and then bringing it to us when we have good water and let's drink it.
Right.
So it was about reinvesting in public infrastructure to supply water for free everywhere, instead of being so much about plastic.
At UVM Extension, we talk a lot about knowing where your food comes from, and this is also something that helps students understand where a natural resource, where water comes from, Little Lake Champlain.
Before this, people were just drinking the water, and some people were buying bottled water. We weren't really talking about it as much. Now, because of this issue, people are realizing, oh, our water does come from Lake Champlain. Is that a good thing? Well, yes, it is. We're lucky to live here,
right.
and be able to drink that water. And we're going to have to protect that water if we're going to keep drinking it in the future. So it's been a really interesting water education project. We hadn't planned it that way, but that's what it is.
I was going to say, what have you learned personally about it? Because you've been involved since the ground floor, both of you, in this project. Was it, we didn't think it'd have that much of an impact, or oh my God, or?
I did not expect there to be quite so much commotion about this.
Okay.
But we've engaged with people in serious ways. Students in a senior level social research methods class conducted more than 900 surveys of students last fall, before we actually did this, to see what their attitudes were. A lot of good information came out of that. We now have classes involved with how we explain this to incoming students, social marketing, etc. We have looked at very carefully at investing our money well, so we're not buying a whole lot of new gizmos. We're just retrofitting our existing fountains, for example. This has been University of Vermont is doing this differently than other institutions who are trying to address this issue. We're doing it in a much more Vermont a Vermont-y kind of approach.
Perhaps sustainable.
Yeah, but we're doing it as Vermonters and, you know, using the minimum number of resources that we need to get this done.
Any expansions for this project? You know, is it someone quick to say, oh, you know, fruit juice or, you know, iced tea, is that next?
Well, this was about water,
right.
But we're still focusing on that. We had talked about ending sales of bottled water. We also decided to end the use of water coolers if they're not necessary. Mm-hmm. So let's plumb those in instead of having water trucked in. Mm. We're figuring out how to serve water at large outdoor events. Graduation, we're going to have a very interesting portable filling station. I won't tell you more yet. And we're going to continue retrofitting. We have 75 fountains on campus with bottle fillers. We have another 150 we could retrofit if we wanted to, so we're seeing where that's needed.
Speaking of future projects, Mieko, we talked about the Clean Energy Fund, how each student pays $10 per semester. In a minute, we'll look at another project. What are some of the projects, or what are some of the future plans for the Clean Energy Fund?
So one of the past projects we did was a comprehensive campus renewable energy feasibility study, and so with that found that we're optimal for solar. And so what we're looking for in future projects is optimal kind of solar locations on our campus or around our UVM property. Mm-hmm. But then also next fall we're going to be sponsoring an energy action seminar, and that's what we're looking forward to.
Well, very good. Let's hear from some of the students who have been involved with projects financed by the UVM Clean Energy Fund to build a compost mound on campus.
I've learned a lot about living sustainably and renewable energies in my classes, but I've never really gotten the chance to actually get involved with any projects because a lot of times like solar, wind, like that technology is really complicated and it's hard to like break into that at this level. So this project I just thought was such an awesome opportunity. Like it provides heat to this greenhouse back here so students can grow vegetables all winter long, and just from a compost mound that produces heat. And so it's pretty simple, pretty easy to implement, a really good way to get students involved. Like anyone can help out. You don't really need any experience, and also involved gardening, which I love. And so yeah, I was really excited about it.
The cold weather climate potential of this technology is really exciting because growing food during the winter is a really hard thing and the propane costs are really high for greenhouses, and to have that option available in Vermont, to have locally sourced food from locally sourced energy, you know, to grow the food is a really, really great thing. In theory, it all seems to work. So when you think about it in a classroom, it's, you know, that's a great idea, you know, everybody should be doing this, but then once you get down to actually implementing it, you understand what the constraints are in the system and, you know, why everybody isn't doing this all over the world yet. And that's a really valuable experience to see how practical this technology is and where and how it can be implemented. After going through this whole process, I can understand, you know, all those things that you have to think through and consider that you would never understand through the classroom experience. It's only something that you would understand by going through each step and trying to implement it.
If you're just joining us, we're talking about issues of sustainability at UVM with Joya Thompson and Mieko Ozeki of the University of Vermont Office of Sustainability. I get to be the reporter on that story, and one of the things I came back with was that this is a great hands-on opportunity that, you know, in extension we talk about with 4-H all the time, but maybe in school, in college, you don't necessarily get.
Students spend a lot of time in the first couple of years sitting in very large lecture halls, and they are very eager to get out and do something else. Right. So the students creating this fund, they wanted to see more activities that they could be involved with. This is why they push so hard for the fund, and we try really hard to help make those connections. It doesn't happen automatically. It requires a considerable amount of planning to make meaningful experiences happen with students who are just beginning to get the knowledge that they're going to need to do this in the future.
Right.
And on our end, it does require a lot of working with faculty and other staff members to say there is an educational opportunity out of this.
Right. Well, very good. We're just about out of time. If you would like to learn more about what the University of Vermont Office of Sustainability, visit their website where you can find information about programs, projects that we've talked about, along with email and other contact information. Thank you both very much. Really enjoyed having you here. And thank you for stopping by Across the Fence.
For a video copy of today's program, call toll-free 1-888-ATF-3430. Across the Fence is brought to you as a public service by University of Vermont Extension and WCAX-TV.